Florida, being the best of the best, not just on the field but off the field. And you see that with our student athletes, the quality of student athletes that decide to come here, as well as the success they have in football and the success they have beyond football in the classroom and in life beyond. So I think that's a really special day for us, and it's great to see us continuing that way forward. Besides that, we're getting ready. We're 1 week away from being into game week, so we're getting really excited about that. Questions?
Yeah, Dan, important stuff. You were on fire on Twitter on Saturday. What's going on there?
So I think that, yeah, what happened, I mean, we were all, I wasn't here. We did meetings all in the morning, and we had left in the afternoon, and players had kind of just a film review in the morning. So after that, my understanding is like a maintenance vehicle got caught on fire and really did no structural damage to the end zone. But you would have thought, man, we were playing and that was like the new scoreboard we had or something right there that caught on fire while the offense was rolling. So, but I think it's good everybody's safe and not much damage done to facility-wise.
Did you get any help on the idea for Denarius, however you say her name? Is it Jeff?
The what? Oh, Daenerys Stormborn. Yeah. I don't know. Someone sent that. That looked pretty cool. I don't know. I was a big Game of Thrones person, so. Right? Khaleesi? Yeah. See, you got to get caught up. Are you a Game of Thrones guy?
Yeah, I am. I thought it was clever. I mean, you had 11,000 likes on 2 tweets. I looked at your timeline. That was pretty significant there.
That's pretty cool. Right? I got to see, right? I should advertise something a little bit more on there. Maybe I'll get a stipend check for $30. I had Cheesecake Factory for lunch. I needed to tweet out my salad right there. Maybe I'll get a $10, a free slice of cheesecake on my next visit.
I think you can get that if you want, man. You don't just ask. Going to football for a second. Sorry, man. I just want to hear your thoughts on that. But what did you learn watching other teams, if anything, that you might be able to apply, and maybe tell your team to have them more ready?
Well, I think sometimes, you do see teams a little bit all over. I think you see a wider range of stuff, and I think for us, we got to come in and you see a lot of little mental errors. I see guys, you go watch some of the games. I get to watch some of the NFL games yesterday. I haven't watched that much NFL football in a while. And, it's interesting. You just see some of the mental errors that you don't usually see. I think guys are flying around, getting after it, and I think that's the excitement of guys finally being able to go play some football again. But you see some younger players or some of the guys where you're making these mental mistakes that shouldn't be made, and it's something that we keep stressing on, not just the physical toughness and how we practice, the effort in which we practice, but also the mental strain. And I think that continues to be a big factor of the teams. Not just the handling all the adversity we have to handle, but the actual mental strain of game day, of putting ourselves in position to be game ready to play. Avoid the penalties, avoid critical errors and mistakes. You're seeing that in a lot of the games, and that gets from lack of playing football.
Thanks, Dan.
Yep.
Hey, Pat, go ahead.
Hey, Dan, do you sense in your team, like you said, we're a week away from game week, are you sensing that team, that level of excitement of everybody kind of getting on edge a little bit?
I'm not sure. I want to see today. We have practice this afternoon. We practiced Friday. I thought we were a little bit stale on Friday. Hopefully this week, really, we have 2 practices, and then we do kind of our mock game in the morning on Thursday morning. So hopefully the intensity picks up. I think our guys, they got to continue to find that balance right now of making sure we're getting better, getting everything in that we need to continue to improve and get the reps we need without the holy cow, can game week just get here? And can we move on to game week? And I think there is a balance between that. I think our guys are ready to get into game week. I think our guys are ready to start playing football. We're still 2 weeks away, and we have some work to do before we get there. And we got to make sure we take care of that business, take care of the task at hand this week. But I do think, I'm hoping by next week, I think next Monday, we'll be pretty juiced up, ready to get into game week.
And how have you guys done on the injury front? I mean, we aren't able to be out there, so we've heard a lot of rumors and stuff.
Yeah, we've done pretty good. Let's see. I'll get y'all on that next Monday. We get into game week. Usually I give the whole injury report game week Monday. So I'll get y'all that next Monday of where we're at, when it gets relevant more towards playing in a game. So, who can and can't practice today we're still 0-0 at the end of practice today, so it's more relevant next week. Yep.
Just to follow up, do you have anybody out for the season?
I don't think so, but if we do, I'll let you know next Monday.
Turning to the social justice front, Dan, obviously the NFL teams and NFL players are all doing things, and you look on campus, guys want to do things. How do you balance, trying to get these guys to do something that's important and makes them feel like they're having a voice here and not getting too distracted from what the task at hand and just winning football games?
Well, we've talked a lot about that. We've had guys come, even some NFL players come talk to our guys about it. The importance of how to use your voice, when to use your voice, when it's relevant. Make sure you know what you're saying and be educated on what you're using your voice for. And I think those are all really important things. I do like to see it. I love to see in the NFL. I saw yesterday there's a lot of different things, but it's guys understanding why are you doing what you're doing. I talked to some guys in the NFL. Why? And I talked to Dak Prescott, and I thought he had a great one. Deal, about is the whole team gonna kneel? Is the whole team gonna stand? Is the whole team gonna do? And he said, why are we talking about the whole team? Everybody has their own individual feelings. And the most important thing is to have your why. Why are you doing it? Why is this important to you? And make sure that you understand what your why is, but you also then respect other people's whys. And that's part of the issue. Everything's not all or nothing or one or this. It is about respecting each other, becoming educated, and respecting the differences between different people. And as a team, as we learn to do, as our guys are learning to kind of respect, learn about each other, learn why they would want to do something, why something's important. Maybe it's more important to one person, not as important to another, and whatever it is, have your why you do things. And so we've talked about that, with our guys. I know they have a voice. With a voice comes responsibility, and how we focus that the right way with the messages that we put out kind of as a group, while giving our guys the individual voice to do what's important to them individually, and most importantly, making sure it doesn't distract from football with the task at hand, right? Which is that they're separate things. While I'm using my voice, our guys, we're fortunate. We have a voice that gets heard probably more than others, because of the platform of football that we have. And let's make sure we're taking care of our platform and things that are important to us and things that are loved, like the game of football. Okay? And that allows us to have this voice. And then let's make sure we educate ourselves and use the voice properly the right way. And we've spent a lot of time discussing that with the team.
Do you envision then that guys will be making some sort of, during like pregame warm-up or something, making some sort of stance or message?
Yeah, I think we've talked about our team about having different messages each week, and the appropriate way to voice and get a message across from one week to the next, and have it be meaningful without having it become a distraction for the task at hand, which is us trying to win a football game.
Matt Baker.
Hey Dan, to follow up on what Edgar was asking about, since you've had a couple weeks now to watch either what's going on the field or outbreaks and stuff elsewhere, what are kind of your biggest concerns from where you are a week and a half away from getting started?
I would say biggest concern is us translating into game speed and game mode. You know what I mean? In your practice, sometimes like I always say, you give up the defense, if you give up a big play, you can kind of bring the ball back, play the next play with whatever it is, whatever the drill is you're working on. Offense, you make a mistake, you don't feel the turnover, you don't feel the penalty, and how it affects the drive or the complete flow of the game and within the practice period that you're working on. So probably the biggest one is getting into the game flow of things and how, every little detail affects the big aspect of the game.
And then Justin Shorter put out the other day that he's cleared. What have you kind of seen from him so far?
Well, he's obviously he has a great attitude, works hard, very physical player, talented, has size, has speed, and can make explosive plays down the field. But also, one of the things to me is, great physical blocker at the point of attack, plays. You can see he's a little bit older guy. He's not a new guy coming in. He's a veteran guy that's played some football, so he understands the importance of the complete game. If you will, block. It's blocking is just as important as catching a 50-yard touchdown pass. And when you understand that, you have the opportunity to become an impact player, and I think he'll be an impact player for us this year.
Hey, Coach. So there's no truth to the rumor that you started the fire?
Yeah. Hey, I was at home. I was actually working scripting practices. And I remember there was it was like a huge rain going down. And somehow there were like a bunch of kids started showing up at our house. Like guys were on bike rides around the neighborhood and hey, I all of a sudden look at the door. There's like 3 kids under our little door. And they're like, I heard my wife and hey, Mrs. Mullen, we got caught out in the rain. So, and they're like, hey, do you know the stadium's on fire? And I'm like, because they're kid, they know, they're on social media, they get all this stuff so fast. I'm like, the what? So I kind of looked at it and I tried to make some calls to figure out what was going on. And, they said, hey, it was just like a maintenance vehicle that got caught on fire next to the stadium. And then they said everybody's fine. And so when I heard that, then I decided, okay, then we can, as long as everybody's safe and there wasn't big damage, we can have some fun.
You said before Thursday will be a mock game routine. Can you just tell us what that is?
Yeah, so on Thursday morning we come up and do a mock game. Every aspect. I'm talking from we start in the locker room and what the schedule is pregame, how we walk on the field to warm up, to every single situation that you could come across in a game. We try to walk through and review. From substituting this, we have a huge script we always do every year within a mock game that goes from all the way from walking into the stadium until singing the fight song after the game.
And with the first game, not typically the first game on the road, but with the first game on the road, you go over travel and stuff like that, and then also with 11 o'clock kick for the first game, do you start altering practice schedules and things this week?
No, it's 12 o'clock our time. That's very confusing to a lot of guys sometimes. So the kickoff. But no, we'll just have our regular practice routine. A lot of times we'll do it when our first couple games are night games. We'll practice a little bit later. We'll kind of go into our regular practice time and practice schedules. Obviously, first game being on the road this year is very different than a road game in every other year because with everything going on, your travel routine is going to be very different than it's been in the past for us. And working with all of our medical staff to make sure we're doing things properly that way.
How will it be different this year?
Just totally different, everything's different. You show up at the stadium, we're using different locker rooms, we're using different meeting rooms. Okay, we're going to have actually a specifically assigned seat on the buses to the airport. Different groups leave at different times. Our seating arrangements on the plane will be different than they've been. The buses, when we get off the plane, will be very different. How we travel, what we're bringing with us will be different. When you get to the hotel, we're going to have to tweak our routine about that for spacing at the hotel. Roommate will be different of who you normally would roommate with on the road. The fact that some people won't have roommates and we'll have to be able to have more single rooms. The bus on the way to the stadium will be different. Pre-game locker room setup will be different. So there'll be a bunch.
And then when you guys released the reports of testing, there was What's just the guidelines of how long did they have to be quarantined? How does the contact tracing work?
Yeah, we're working a lot with all of our local health officials right now. The SEC has their rules coming into effect, and in that, there's so much unknown. We'll have, I think, numbers come out tomorrow. We release the numbers for everybody. We'll have a couple more guys that have tested positive. We've also had some. Right now, I think we might have some false positives that we've identified, which is that's a huge concern. You have these asymptomatic guys that with multiple negative tests that, they had one, there was a false positive come back, some false positives come back from the lab. I don't think that'll be reflected in the numbers that you get, but we're working very closely with all our local health officials. I think our medical staff here is doing a fabulous job of everything, creating one of the safest environments in Gainesville, or if not the state of Florida, here within our football program. But and I give a lot of credit to our players. They've done an amazing job. I think obviously you're going to see anytime you infuse whatever 50,000 students onto a campus, you're going to have a spike. And our guys, we have a minor one, but I think when you look at the numbers and you look at the ones if you take out the false positives, and I can't get into all the specifics of that. I think there's legal issues with those, but. I think I give our guys a lot of credit for what they've been able to do and continue to do moving forward.
So just some clarification on the mock game scenario. Does that include a scrimmage or anything like that? Or
No, we don't even have helmets on.
Okay. And is there any more clarification from the NCAA on this being like the 3-year eligibility and for how you guys can handle roster management and recruiting numbers?
Yeah, it is a free year of eligibility, so it doesn't affect everybody's eligibility this year. But obviously we're under bigger our restriction. So for the overall roster, that's something to figure out long term. For this year, you're still very limited. We only have 70 guys that can travel to an away game right now. Only 80 guys can dress and play in a home game. That doesn't have a big effect because of the conference rules that are in place the year of eligibility.
Well, for roster balance later, do you have to worry about scholarship numbers?
From my understanding, this next year we don't, and then we'll continue to work on things down the road. So, that's as the NCAA article came out is so those guys, I can't tell you. I'm sure we'll have a bunch of guys want to leave to go to the NFL and not take advantage of one more year of eligibility here. So, but if we did, they would come back and wouldn't count against your numbers for next year's team.
Thank you. Buddy.
Hey, Dan, you comment on the fact that is there a residual impact of having all your coaches together for so long? I don't know what the collective number is, but you guys have worked together and seem to be interacting well, as far as we can tell. What's that like in terms of you as the head coach and what advantages you have versus people who have tons of turnover? It's different. Comment about all your coaches and the interaction and the experience that you have together.
Well, I think one, the experience of guys being together. There's the benefit of everybody being on the same page. Everybody understood what our direction of our program is, what my expectations within the program are, how we're going to handle different situations within the program year round. Whether it's, hey, we have this workout today. Hey, everybody's pretty familiar with how that works. What our practice routine is, what our weekly in-game schedule is. You have a lot of guys that are very, very familiar with that. So that makes life pretty easy, for us. You don't have to spend a lot of time on the staff, because on every little thing, because the guys understand it. You have all these guys who've been around each other, and so they know what my expectations are and what we're trying to accomplish with each aspect of the program. We have a great group of guys. I think, as you brought up, not just the staff being around each other a long time, how they interact with each other, how the staff gets along, the camaraderie of the staff, I think is a huge deal as well. I think that adds to a great work environment. Guys want to, enjoy being part of our program, enjoy being on our staff, and so it keeps guys around a lot. I think one thing you always have to defend against, though, is, we kind of get so stuck in our ways, and everybody kind of knows this is how we do it, is we don't always have fresh ideas. So we're always trying to challenge each other with guys, and I try to challenge staff to come up with some different ideas and some fresh ideas. And hey, I want to come up with a different way for us to do it. It doesn't mean we're going to do it, but let's come up with some different ideas so we can brainstorm. As soon as we get anybody new on the staff, the first thing we ask is tell us all the things that we do, how you would do it differently, or how you've done it differently, to help us brainstorm with new ideas so we don't get stagnant in what we're doing, and that we're always trying to better and improve ourselves.
And one of the ways that you tell about coaches is when their kids leave and go to the pros and come back and talk about it. And specifically, one of your wide receivers, I believe it was Swain, somebody talked about Billy Gonzalez being the best wide receiver coach in the country. I know you know Billy well, you've worked together. Can you just comment about, if that's true, what makes him the best wide receiver?
Well, I think when you look at these guys, I think it was a couple of the guys. Freddie said it. I think there's Jefferson had something out, and those guys made impact in games yesterday in the NFL. And I think you look at Billy and how he develops players. How you look at where, to go from 2 years ago when we first got here, it was like, boy, we have the worst receiving core in the NFL, and all of a sudden 2 years later, 4 of them are playing on Sundays. That, it wasn't like, hey, we fixed the problem by just going to recruit, and we're like, hey, we concern ourselves as recruiting great players. We want to recruit great players, but we're also going to coach and develop them, and that's probably maybe one of the things that is different, and our guys feel really comfortable when they talk about it, is Billy's going to do such an unbelievable job of not just recruiting, getting quality guys here, but the improvement they make and his development with them is their development in the fundamentals of the receiver position, the style of offense that we run that prepares them to play professional football at the next level, running the pro style offense that we run, those things, his knowledge of what he does, of technique, of scheme, and understanding the big picture of the game, and how he's able to motivate and get the most out of his players is, I think you look at his body of work throughout his career and the success those guys have had going on to the next level is second to none, and it's great to hear those guys that go on to pro football and say, hey, he's the best receiver coach in the country. If you want the opportunity to make it to the NFL, go play at Florida.
One specific guy, shorter, is just getting under him now. Have you seen any change in Billy's impact on him in terms of, how is the timing of the pass game?
Absolutely. I think it a lot for him. I mean, Justin's guy, but I think Justin's guy has a great work ethic. And, you take a guy with a great work ethic with obviously a great coach, you put him with a great coach, you're going to see big strides. And, you've seen that at Justin. I think, he's the guy to ask that, hey, how much do you think you've improved, in the short time that we've had him? Obviously, we didn't get a spring. Really limited to what you can do in the summer with the players getting together, but in the 5 minus 3, 8, 17 practices, how have you improved? And, I guess we get in the game week, that'd be a good question for him, and I bet he'll say, hey, hopefully he says I've improved an awful lot in these 17 practices, and what I've learned and how I've been able to develop even more so than, my previous college career.
Thank you, Dan.
Cassidy.
Okay. How much of switching Dante Lane to defense was due to depth, like maybe a ton at tight end and not enough on defense, versus watching him, looking at his skill set and saying he would be better served?
Well, I think it's a combination of everything, which is the defensive depth, as well as the tight end depth, and the ability of number of plays he's going to get. Obviously, we're not very deep at tight end at all, but we have some excellent players at that position. So our depth is a concern, but we have some talent at that spot. But he's a guy even, I think he always reminds me of my first phone call to him when I got hired. I tried to watch all the players when I got that were committed to us, watch them all on film. And, I said to him, I said, hey, I said, I love watching how you rush the passer, your athleticism, how you get after how you get after your athleticism rushing the passer. He said, Coach, but I'm coming as a tight end. I said, well, that's great, but I was just watching film and I loved your athleticism getting after the passer. He reminds me of that. And so I think it's something that, you look at his body type, his skill set, the needs really fit into defense, and I think even long term, I think he understands that's possibly, a better position for him, not just here at Florida, but even beyond here. So I think it became kind of an easy choice for everybody.
So was it always kind of in the back of your mind to switch him?
No, because I think he's got great hands. He's a very solid route runner. We were doing special situations like hands team the other day. He's like, Coach, you make sure I'm still on the hands team. I got great hands, even though I'm playing on the DN now. I still have great hands. But he does that. I thought he'd be a really good tight end. But you look at, his size. He's been able to put on some size. I think he's up in the, mid 280 range now. So a guy that's like 6'4", 6'5", 280. That's a pretty good size for a defensive end. But it was a really big tight end, but and a great size for an athletic defensive end.
And then one other thing, we talked to Brian Johnson the other day, and you mentioned talking to Alex Smith with you in his office, and how he can kind of point to what he's been able to do over the past year and show his guys, look at what you can do if you put your mind to it. What do you take from that as well, and what has it been like kind of watching his journey this past year?
Well, obviously, anybody that's if you watch the show, the Project 11 was unbelievably done. Now, obviously, it hit. If you just look at that as an outsider, it's extremely it can be extremely motivating. Of how he is able to go from a gruesome, life-threatening injury into battling his way back to being on the active roster of an NFL team is pretty special. Obviously, now the show was a lot more difficult to watch when you have that personal relationship, and him, and the family, and his wife and his kids, and so it's when it's. I think that the tragic part of it all, the tragedy, the scary part, and the fear and the injury in the family when it hits home personally is always a little different than the motivational side of it. But if you know Alex and you know what a special person he is, the type of person he is, you see, and his wife Elizabeth, and you just see the type of people they are, and even his whole family, and seeing them on the show. His parents, what a great family they all are. You just see, it doesn't surprise you, his ability to come back from that, his drive to come back from that, his drive. He's one of those guys. Obviously, he's unbelievable success in football, unbelievable success in life. He graduated college in 2 years. And you have people that have that drive are going to be successful. And it just kind of also shows the type of drive he has as a person to overcome the unbelievable obstacles he had to. If you haven't seen the Project 11, I encourage you to watch it. On him, on the injury, what he went through, and on his recovery is pretty unbelievable.
Thanks, Dan.
Brendan.
Hey, Dan. You talked in the past about talking to people in the NFL about what the game day situation is like, what the game day environment's like. I was just curious if you heard back from anyone yet, or even just people from the college level.
Yeah, I have those calls. I got to make those calls this afternoon. Obviously, they were playing yesterday, so they're probably, the immediate thought wasn't to talk to me. They had their own problems and issues yesterday, but those are calls we'll make today and tomorrow.
Thanks, Dan.
Yep.
Robbie.
Hey Dan, I was just wondering how your Australian punter has been doing and what the competition is like at that position right now.
Yeah, doing really well, getting adjusted to it. I think, obviously, again, he missed spring. again, we're limited in the summer, so he's only had some practices. Hasn't played. Obviously he's worked punting, but hasn't played in live game situations or live football situations when people are coming running at you to try to block the kick. But he certainly has a lot of talent in there. And then so you have him and you have Jacob Finn, who's obviously a fifth-year senior veteran guy, been around the program a long time, understands what it is. So both of those two, I think, have done a really solid job. And so it'll be interesting to see who gets it. I mean, I don't make that decision probably until the end of next week. Who'll be the guy that kicks, because we get equal reps. Both of them have to be ready to play, and we'll see who the one guy will be at the end of next week, probably after Thursday's practice.
Hey Dan, I wanted to ask you about another one of your former quarterbacks. You mentioned Dak Prescott. I just want to get your reaction to him coming out and talking about mental health last week. And how do you feel like your team would respond if one of your quarterbacks came out with something like that? I know you guys have a big family kind of atmosphere and support system there.
Well, obviously, I think great. I think, one of the things that it is great. We had Dak talk to the team, actually, just about how to use your voice last week. And, and I think Dak is someone that does understand it. You're the quarterback of the Dallas Cowboys, in sports. You have one of the biggest roles in all of sports of being the quarterback of the Dallas Cowboys, and the responsibility that comes with it and the voice that you have that comes with it. And I think, obviously, in knowing the situation and everything he dealt with and what happened with his, with his brother last spring, I think it was something that I'm proud of him, that he felt that he needs to come out and be a voice for people that do deal with mental health issues, and especially right now. I imagine, you don't have the research, but I think, what we're going to find out a year from now is dealing through all of quarantines and isolations and COVID and everything that's gone on, mental health issues will have skyrocketed. And, and you're saying I'm skyrocketing with mental health issues, and I'm supposed to be locked away in my house, and I can't even associate with other people. So I think proud of him, to come out there and to sit there and give a voice, because you know what? I think people that are sitting there are going to say, hey, I'm dealing with all these problems that I have, and I might be the only one. And here I am isolated. I'm told I'm forced to isolate myself at home, dealing with all of these issues. And now here's a guy coming out talking about it that is also maybe dealing with some issues. That's the quarterback of the Dallas Cowboys. So I'm not alone. And I think that's something that takes a lot of courage. And obviously, a guy like Dak, who's such a special person, such a great presence on his team, has unbelievable charisma and leadership within his organization, and just as a person within the community and really within the whole country, to come out to bring awareness to something and to help people out to realize maybe you're not alone in dealing with mental health issues. And don't be afraid to talk about it. Don't be afraid to try to get help, because everyone deals with it. I guarantee you, everybody. You'd be hard pressed, to find anybody that since April 1st or whatever, March, whatever it was until now, that hasn't dealt with some forms of depression or feelings or thoughts they've never had before. I have. I've dealt, just having to go quarantine, having to isolate, having to change everything your life. You just don't feel normal at times. And you mentally don't feel normal. And that's not a comfortable feeling. And, and you realize, by Dak coming out to talk about it, you realize you're not alone in that, and you think of all the people that have had to deal with it. It's hard, and I bet if everybody reflects on it and thinks about it I'm probably not someone that has dealt with lots of depression in life. I wouldn't say that. But when you start to have those feelings, because you're quarantined, isolating at times, and you start to feel, this feels so different than I've ever felt, Imagine people that are dealing with bigger issues. And it's great that, for him to come out with that voice that let people know they're not alone, that they can find ways to seek help, find people to talk to, find people that are dealing with the same things they're dealing with.
Dan, have you guys, with infections, COVID infections, have you felt like an impact from those, whether it's quarantine, I'm saying during the practices? I mean, is this upset anything that you planned?
No, I mean, we felt impact of it going all the way back to June. From June till now, you felt the impact of it at different things within the program, but not anything that's thrown us off. Hey, you have guys having to quarantine, you have guys having to isolate, you guys, I think, but at different times. But the program as a whole has continued to move forward, and it probably hurts a little bit more on individual growth with each person that we've dealt with throughout the whole time.
Okay. Lorenzo Lingard since he was a star player in the Orlando area.
Yeah.
Had some ups and downs, some frustrations, be it injuries, playing time, things like that, and now he's here. How's he responded to the new environment? What are your kind of expectations of him and things you want to see from him that he works on and improves?
Well, I think the one thing, obviously, we have some backs that have been in the program for a while, so he's, in him picking it up is one thing that he's probably behind those guys in how he picks it in picking it up, because this is his, again, he didn't have a spring, he didn't have anything. This is his first time learning the offense. You have guys, this is their, if you go, spring and fall camp, you have guys, this is their 6th and 7th time going through it all that have played in seasons. But I think the one thing that I've been most impressed with him is his attitude and his work ethic. I know he's a guy that was a really highly rated recruit out of high school, decided to transfer and transferred here. But he's a guy to me that I just show every day he shows up. He works his tail off, works hard in special teams, works hard, plays hard. You see that he loves to play the game. And so the thing I've been most impressed with is really his effort level and his attitude and approach to how hard he works every day. And he's worked hard at picking it up. He's very conscientious about picking up the offense, even though he's probably, mentally a little bit behind some of the other guys that just have the more experience within the system.